Yeah, okay. Well, welcome to Black History Conversations. We're delighted that we've got Daniel Johnson with us today, who's going to tell us about his interesting work. But it's a pretty auspicious day today. It's the 5th of July, 2024, and it's a day when we're all giving thanks that Jamaica got through the worst of Hurricane Beryl, but we know that other islands have been hit very badly in the Caribbean, and that we need to be aware of that and see. We'll hear about this. Okay, then. So I'm just going to introduce my colleagues. I've got Simon Faringo, who's doing the wonders behind the IT. I'm actually operating on my phone today from Colwyn Bay, North Wales, and I've just had a few challenges because my lovely new laptop won't let me get into Zoom properly, so I need to do a bit of adjustment there. So apologies for that, because Daniel, I won't be able to show off the posh PowerPoint that I prepared just to introduce you. But
No
just
worries, no worries.
lovely. Well, Simon with us, which is absolutely great because he operates the system behind the scenes, then nips off and fetches his daughter, but he leaves it running. And Garrick, you are going to be the person in charge, and you'll do the switching off at the end bit of the recording. So we are recording now. So while I'm introducing you, Garrick Prayog is a founder of Justice for Windrush Generations, a very good colleague and very delighted and happy colleague at the moment. I think you've been campaigning hard, Garrick, and we'll talk about that later. So congratulations for all the work you've done. We've also got, while we do the another colleague in the UK, we've got June Elizabeth, White Scully, and June Elizabeth has put us in touch with Daniel, so got the session going. So I can see you're busy in the car, Elizabeth, so don't have your
No,
camera.
I've just pulled out.
Yeah.
I've just arrived home, so that's fine.
So the audio is a bit strange at the moment, June Elizabeth. So we'll just leave that moment. And also we're delighted that we've got Kurt Henry. So Daniel, if you'll just allow us for a moment to introduce Kurt Henry, who's the director of the Institute of Jamaica Memory Bank, and Kurt is joining us from Jamaica. So Kurt, we need the information. June Elizabeth, please switch your camera off for us for a moment, please, dear. Thank you. Kurt, would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us what's been happening in Jamaica and how you're able to contact us?
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Liz, for that introduction. So, as Liz mentioned earlier, I am Kurt Henry, Director of the African Caribbean Institute of Jamaica Memory Bank. So currently, as you know, we weathered some storms about 2 days ago. Where I am in Kingston, things seem to be okay, but a lot of the devastation seemed to happen in Montego Bay and Mandeville. There are power outages in Kingston, and currently there are some challenges with internet connectivity. But outside of that, we are recovering so far. So yeah, so far, so good.
Well, that's absolutely wonderful. And yes, it's great. So we've got a lot to celebrate today, and I'm so grateful that you're able to join us and tell us that good news. Now, Kurt Henry is director of the Jamaica Memory Bank, is working with us on the Penance Project. And the Penance Project, we normally meet on a Thursday, but yesterday June Elizabeth and I met, but we didn't manage to get any colleagues from Jamaica meeting us, which we weren't at all surprised by. I went ahead just in case. So the Penance Project, some of you know already, is about exploring the history and the links between the Pennant family in North Wales, who were in Jamaica at one stage, and the Penrhyn Castle and plantations and estates and pens in Jamaica. So we've been meeting for some time. We've the moment we're negotiating getting some funding to help in the community there. So I don't know if they'll need extra help after the storm. We'll have to see. But Dr. Kurt Henry is also a supporter of the application that we put in, Learning Links International, put into the Welsh Government. Now, I'm Liz Millman from Learning Links International. I'm a director. Garrick is also a director of Learning Links International, as well as he's he's chair of the North Wales Jamaica Society, and I'm the secretary of the North Wales Jamaica Society. So we've got a lot of threads and things that hold us together. But this is a Learning Links International activity, Black History Conversations. So Kurt Henry, we're delighted that you were able to join us, and thank you very much. We were able to include the support of the Jamaica Memory Bank in the application. We'll be sending you copies of the application. I think you received one after we put it in, but also that we're starting an interesting project that follows on from Black History Conversation session some 10 sessions ago, when Professor Celia Naylor joined us, and she's done some exciting work recording, researching and presenting the stories of enslaved workers off the Roll Sole plantation. So that's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, as you know, with Black History Conversations, we usually start off with a short PowerPoint with some dedications, but unfortunately I can't manage to show that today. So I'm just going to have to say, respect to all those of you who've joined us, and recognition that the stories that we talk about in Black history are very difficult stories, and we recognise and acknowledge that, and we are working towards better understanding so that we can move forward. Now, June Elizabeth, I can see you there moving around all over the place. Do you want to
what I'd like to do, thank you, yes, I just would like to introduce myself and also briefly just mention Daniel, because Galkad's got all the paperwork to introduce him for me. Okay, well, Liz has already said my name, I'm June Elizabeth. I live in Northampton. I've Jamaican parents, and I've got ancestors from the Pennant plantation. I'm also very proud to introduce Daniel Johnson. I've known him and my husband. We've known him from he was 12. And when I present at the university, he came along. Until now, Gareth will tell you who he is. I'm an international Windrush advocate, trainer, advisor, consultant. And I've got the Home Office coming to Northampton next week. Last week, I was on Daniel Johnson's Black History. I presented my work, and then I was on the panel before I went down to London with the Home Office. So without further ado, I've got a special thing for Daniel. My son's Daniel as well, but when I say Daniel, people say, which Daniel? Is it the music Daniel or your son Daniel? So without further ado, I let Danny calls me Mama June when we're not on a professional platform, yeah? So I'm going to let Garrick introduce you. All right, Daniel, thank you for coming on the platform.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and welcome, Daniel, to Black History Conversation. These are the conversations we have each Friday at this time. And just before we go into your biography, just to say that it was good news to hear that Jamaica did not suffer as what we were expecting, because we were expecting big disaster. So we're grateful to that. But the storm is still moving towards Cayman and up through to Mexico, etc. So again, our prayers should go out to those people in those locations. So thank you very much, Daniel, for agreeing to join us this afternoon. Let me just mention your biography as was sent out to all our colleagues and support. So Daniel is a founder of social enterprise organization in music in media. He's also a music artist, educator, public speaker, and cultural specialist. From a very early age, he established himself as a DJ, stroke artist, which led him to working with international acts, hosting national radio shows, securing national and international performance booking. Using this influence, he has developed an artistic development model, which is initially used to steer his peers away from crime. I just pause there because that's a very important aspect, young people on crime. We're going to hear a little bit more about that. This latter became the model he used to deliver in schools and university, promoting unconventional education and career pathway. As a specialist in music of Black origin, his practice cover a broad range of related skill set, and his study demonstrate the global influence of these music style and culture, visibly globally in a modern day culture. So Daniel going to explain a little bit more about how he actually engage using these various formats and engage with young people and a wider audience. Daniel, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you everyone for having me. Thank you for the invitation. Thanks, June, Mama June, June Elizabeth, for putting me forward to be here. So yeah, as June said, June's been like a mother figure, but also a mentor for me, like from a young age. And yeah, she's gave me guidance on my journey. So yeah, give thanks. So what I've got today, so usually I'll show like a video. So I'll put like a video presentation together. It's about 10 minutes, I think about 12 minutes, if that's fine. So it kind of shows the journey, and then we can ask any questions or Q&A or elaborate on any areas that you guys are interested in. Yeah?
Great.
Okay, so let me share.
I've just made you co-host for you to share. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is the screen. Just let me know if it's share sound.
There's a mouse moving, but nothing yet.
Okay. Yeah, this is it. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. To many people, reggae is just a style of music that came out of the Caribbean, Jamaica to be exact. And the reggae sound system is an excessively loud PA system with a heavy, vibrating bass line. But to me, sound system is the apprenticeship program I embarked on coming up in my youth, which prepared me for adult life, equipping me with a host of transferable and life skills, organically leading me to carve my own unconventional career pathway. I am Daniel Hustler D. Johnson, a social entrepreneur and reggae and sound system ambassador.
Sorry. Hey, it's all that you can say. Baby, can I hold you tonight? Maybe if I told you the right words, ooh, at the right time, yeah, you'll be mine. Yeah, you'll be mine.
Yeah, boy. Ja Troopers, welcome to Berlin.
You're Rastafari.
Yo, Germany, what's this? That's what they call money pull-up. You want the tune to play again? It's called money pull-up. You understand? I don't know if it reach Berlin yet, but this around the world of foreign. Money pull-up. Big up my London crew. Play my tune if you want me, brother.
behind the main stage, but I know we festival. We tune a playlist, but I know we radio stations.
We could try some work to the track.
No wonder you are fight for a cause, that's right.
No longer you are fight for your cause and what's right.
Yeah.
No longer you are fight for your cause and what's right. And through your comfortable, the rest of people you know mind. Me glad say Jaja open up the eyes and hear me cry. Take these chains away from my heart. My first introduction to the concept of sound system was seeing a large collection of 1960s and 70s vinyl records in my living room cupboard as a child. My dad told me the journey of these records, being the last remainder of a sound system him and his friends set up in the 1970s as teenagers. And the older records from the 1960s were my nan and granddad's, that friends and family members would bring over from Jamaica, and they would play them at the house when their friends came round. As a child, me and my brothers would record these records onto cassette tapes, and as I got older, I began creating compilation cassettes and selling them to earn some pocket money. This led me to landing my first radio show on the local radio station at the tender age of 11, which then led to house parties, and I formed a group with my peers called Ja Troopers. As popularity grew, we began to get more bookings within the black community from local promoters and event organizers. But we noticed the support and appreciation we was getting for what we was doing was not reflected outside of our community. In schools, these skill sets, such as DJing and rapping, wasn't acknowledged in music education in the national curriculum. And outside of school, at local events, these music styles such as reggae, dancehall, hip-hop, grime at the time was not commonly accepted. We would feel this sense of social exclusion, and often we would be turned down at the doors when attending events, with the security giving bogus excuses. This isolation forced us to start hiring community centres and hosting our own events, which led to us creating our own scene. This was also complemented by the younger generation in other nationalities showing a huge interest in these types of music, which were all subgenres of reggae, such as jungle, drum and bass, garage, grime, dubstep, and others, which emerged from the fusion of other cultures and technologies.
Roots rock reggae, it's the reggae music. Roots rock reggae, yeah, it's the reggae music.
At that time, I realized how fortunate I was, as although I was born in the mid-80s, so technically I was a 90s child growing up. Starting out with my dad's and grandparents' records, I gained the valuable knowledge of the music and the culture from its inception. And then being a practitioner in the music and experiencing the developments firsthand, I was able to track and record the journey and the process, which later served as studies for me to present as an academic and a researcher. What we were doing became widespread and built a platform for other local artists with interest in these styles of music. And organically, we evolved into artist development, producing these artists and learning the different aspects of music production, artist management, and stagecraft. This journey took me across the country and even overseas, working with international artists and sound systems. Despite my success, I was still under the impression I needed to find a professional job and career. And trying to chase the traditional educational pathway, I was encouraged to apply for university after finishing school. Initially, I explored doing a music degree, but was rejected as I could not read or play classical music and instruments. So I looked at business studies, as I had a taste of business through my music, creating and hosting events, selling cassettes, and managing artists and projects. Unfortunately, although I stayed on at sixth form, I never quite made the grade, but I still persisted and attended my university interview, where I brought along my music portfolio. The portfolio showed the high-profile shows I had done, magazines I had been in, and national radio stations I had featured on, such as BBC One Extra. The course leader was very impressed and said, "We would love to have you on the course," and begged me to join. Out of a class of around 20 students, I was one of 3 students that passed and graduated. This trend followed me post-university, with my first job being a graphic designer, a skill I learned through creating my own flyers for my music events, but I didn't have any graphic design qualifications. Realizing the value of my skills and the unconventional channels in how I acquired them, I set out on a mission to share this process with the younger generations. And after designing and running a number of these types of youth projects with charities and voluntary groups, I set up In Music and Media, my social enterprise organization. Initially, I used a mobile model to go to schools and youth service providers, offering them my specialist service with the theme of creating awareness of the educational values within music of Black origin and the related skill sets.
My name's Scott Wade. I'm Deputy Head Teacher at Kingsford College. My responsibilities are curriculum and timetable. I think from a school's point of view, we would like the project to continue for a longer period. Ideally, we'd also like it to involve other students. From an ideal point of view, this is the kind of thing we would like to introduce to all year groups and trying to just kind of like raise the level of involvement of all students. And there's quite a few overlaps from a school's point of view. You've also got the PSHE program, the element of teamwork, students working together to support each other. There's also undoubtedly the communication element from an English point of view, and also the performing arts with regards to music, drama as well. That would definitely have a positive impact on them. Before, we were quite nervous about whether our students would engage, but certainly from the feedback we've had from students, parents and teachers involved, they were extremely positive about the whole experience, and it's definitely something that we would consider doing again. I think the main impact was from a confidence level. The students, when they first started the programme, were a bit unsure, a bit nervous, a bit hesitant to kind of like engage. But over time, we could see a real increase in their positive attitude. Their confidence level would increase, and then by the end of it, the students were really engaged, and it was a real shame that the project had to come to an end, really.
Through the success of this, I created a project called Musically Unorthodox, to not just create awareness and share these specialist skills, but to guide the young people how to implement these skills and walk them through the unconventional career and educational pathways. After reaching the maximum impact with the mobile model, the next stage was to establish our own center, which is the MU Creative Space. Using electrical and carpentry skills I learned through building and running my own sound system, I was able to design and build a fit-for-purpose venue, consisting of a recording studio, a film and photography studio, and independent creative workstations to run classes. The setup of the center has been a success, and being the first of its kind, acts as a creative social hub for young people, bridging the gap between education and the creative industries. My journey and experience has provided me with a wealth of content, which I have been able to incorporate into courses. And currently, the courses we offer are alternative provisions for excluded students, school interventions for students at risk, creative employability for young people not in education, employment or training, and also bespoke programs where we work with partnership organizations such as probation, young offenders, universities and colleges to design programs specifically to meet the young people's needs. Performing on my sound system helped me to develop techniques and confidence in addressing and engaging public audiences, which has led me to become a public speaker. And my track record makes my views and opinions valuable for others interested in related topics and subjects. And it was on these grounds I was offered the role as an associate lecturer at the University of Northampton to create and deliver the independent record label module. On the same music degree I was denied 10 years prior when I wanted to go to university. And it was during this role.
Here we have Daniel Johnson and Roy Wallace, who will be presenting From Slangting to Skanking in the Dancehall, a case study of the impact that second wave Jamaican reggae had on the British sound system culture.
Pull up my son, take it and go on. What a policeman doing? Bring me down.
40s, early 50s, if me no wrong. With the poor, it was an alternative solution. Why the upper class entertainment was live bands in a schoolyard, street corner, upon the grocery store. Yeah, that was the presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.
Wow, that was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh gosh, what a world.
Interesting enough, Liz. What Daniel just presented has taken me back to my youth days. June Elizabeth, you and I, we talk about the sound system in South London, you know, and the crew that I used to, you know, hang with, etc., on the front line, you know, right through the 70s and the 80s. And, you know, it's interesting that, you know, people don't understand the different skill set that you can develop. You know, we had people on the decks, you know, so you know, that's their area of specialism. So I was a selector, you see, I wasn't a DJ, I'm a selector, right? Because I choose my music, right? So I'm a selector. And there are other people who have the skill to actually do all the electronic stuff, you see?
Yeah.
So, you know, I was with, and I'm going to drop a name now that you'll have to research because he's no longer alive, you see? I was with a man called Jim Daddy in Brixton, who used to make amplifier, build the amplifier, you know, valve amplifier, not, you know, not transistor. That came later, you know. And when we have sound competition with Cox and Duke, Reed, Safana and all those people in, you know, in the various town hall, Brixton, Wandsworth, and so forth, we would take in, you know, the two pieces of amp, right? And nobody else will carry that. Only Jim will take that in, right? All the other guys will take all the other stuff in, but he will take that in because that is the head, that's the compute, that's everything.
Yeah.
Nobody should touch that, you know, right? And he will take those two pieces in and put them in. So we all had different roles. You know, I started, you know, just carrying boxes, learning the trade before I, you know, get into thing. And that is the gradual education, you know, that individual will get out of this. So it's not just about music, you know, it's far more than that. And you've actually illustrate that quite well in terms of the different skill set that you're able to use, and to the point where you develop, you know, the business offer, you know, not just music, but you've got photography, you got a whole range of different skill set that young people, and what the ed teacher just said, you know, it's not just about one type of young person. It's about how you engage with a variety of young people. See? And I think you've demonstrated that, you know, you're doing that. It is well done. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I know that was a bit similar, but different video than what you presented at the Windrush event at the university last year.
Yeah.
And a little bit different than what you done last week, this time when you had your Windrush event.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's nice that you tweak it according to the audience. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But following what Garrick said, I mean, my late brother, him and Trevor Hall, Ras Jabulani and Duku, Junior Turner, they bought a sound system which Garrick will know of from Count Shelley in Finsbury Park. And they brought it to Northampton in the 70s. So when I used to nurse, I used to administrate. So I would make sure if I'd done the bookings, I'd do it at the end of the month when I got paid. So at least I'd have a float if they got the door. Or if they got the bar as well, we got a float, yeah? And petrol for the van and everything. So going around England, if you tell me the sound, I'll tell you the town, I'll tell you the sound. So that brings me to Slipe Road. You've been to Slipe Road Studio in Kingston, Daniel?
No,
Well,
not.
Right. Well, I don't know if it's still there, but when I went to Slipe Road Studio, right, I had to meet Robbie and some of those guys. I had to meet my cousin to get the Thai food tea I forgot to bring for me auntie, right? What my mum gave me, I forgot to bring it. So we met at Slipe Road Studio. So somebody there heard my voice and they said, "Oh, you come from London?" And they were telling me about this club. And it really got on top of me because when I was a teenager, I knew every club in Kingston, less more England. So in the end, I asked them what sound was playing, right? And what day? And he said Thursday night. And Sir Coxon sound playing. I said, that's the People's Club. So as Garrett would tell you, that was originally the Q Club, right? So even though I'm a female, right, I know everything about the sound systems. In fact, I give the history of it. Me and Danny used to give the history of it. So I'll let Danny come in now. One day we was at the university and I gave the history of the sound system because my husband, who's 86, as you know, Sir Cliff, his sound system in Kingston in the 50s was Nick's sound, yeah, when they just got the 2 turntables. So when I gave the presentation, we used to, all the sound systems, we used to have a competition. And at the end of the year, it's the best sound would end up at Acton Town Hall for the Gold Cup. Yeah. So now, by the time Daniel grew big now, and we went to the university and I delivered my presentation, Danny took it to the next level. Yeah, because by now all these different what do you call it? Social media's coming. And can you remember what you done, Danny? You showed the video, was it in Germany or somewhere, Japan, all the different festivals of can you say what it was? And then the Gold Cup had gone international now, and I think a country in Africa won it. Can you remember that?
Yeah. It's all over. I know there was the Japanese, the biggest, I think the biggest reggae festival is in Spain, Rotterdam. They have something like 140,000 people every year. Yeah. But just to touch on so in the video, you see, when I was in Kingston, when I went to the studio, was in the studio with King Jamis, and he was telling me his story, and he said, so he originally was just a mixing engineer, and a lot of the stuff he used to mix for Bunny Lee, Striker Lee, the producer.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said Bunny Lee gave him some rhythm tracks and said, just see what you can do with them. So he recorded an album with Black Eura, the original Black Eura at that time. And that was the first album they recorded, but no one wouldn't take it from him. And then he said he came to England and he met Count Shelley. And Count Shelley brought the album, and it was Count Shelley what gave him his break, basically. So when he told me Count Shelley, I said, Count Shelley, and then I told him the story of you and Eddie and how they brought the sound to and come to Northampton. So it was funny to see like the how the whole circle come back round and then linked up in Kingston.
Right, lovely. And another thing about Daniel, his dad had a sound system called Jayut.
Yeah.
So it's like what we have done in Northampton, we've passed the baton from our original Windrush people down. And that's where we're at now. So, you know, well done. I'm proud of you. What I like about Daniel, anything I can do, Danny can do it better. You with me? Because he's got the technologies, and now he's got his own studio. Because he used to have a studio in his house, and I told him one day, as long as he keeps the right company, right, one day he'll have his own studio, and I want to come to that studio. And then you see, the mayor cut the ribbon at the studio before Easter. And you've also got a studio in Ethiopia, haven't you?
Yeah, we've got one in Ethiopia as well, and a sound system
Right.
over there as well.
Lovely. Okay then. And Danny can lecture at the university. He's an all-rounder. So I do think what you got to say, Kurt Henry. I think me and you are related, but we'll talk about that another time. What have you got to say, Kurt? Have you got anything you wanted to ask Daniel?
Thank you. Yes, of course. While we were having the conversation with Daniel, I was here busy thinking about my questions. First, let me say thank you so much, Daniel, for your presentation. I really appreciate it. Yeah. I don't have a lot of historical experiences to share, but what I do appreciate about the work that you're doing is the ability to bring community together. And also the ability to impact lives, because as Garrick mentioned earlier, sound system is not just about music. You know, it is a space where people come together to release the pressures of everyday life, come together to bond. It is also a sacred space for me. It is a spiritual space for many people. You know, and the sound system as a kind of political space has the ability to raise the consciousness of the people within the space, and give people hope in many ways. You know, the sound system, as you mentioned, Daniel, is not just a Jamaican phenomenon, but it's a global phenomenon. And in my own work, I talk about drumming as the first sound system on the plantation. You know, and that was banned. I think it kind of forced me to think about your own struggle growing up, you know, trying to pursue this, and how, you know, Black indigenous expressions, the sound system was not available in the mainstream curriculum. It was not being taught. So I wanted to hear from you how.
Sorry, you just cut out there on the last part.
Come back in again, Kurt.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear now?
Oh, where did I? What was the last?
Just as you was about to ask the question, as soon as you said how, and then it cut out.
Okay, right. So give your own struggles growing up, and you're not able to access, you know, in the curriculum what you really wanted to study. How has that changed since then?
To be honest, it hasn't really changed, you know. And this is why we set up the organization. So this is the gap that our organization fills. They're trying. So like you see, they've introduced DJing. They've introduced certain elements of the urban music and sound system culture, but it's very limited. And then again, like we were having this conversation the other day, like, so when I was looking at going to uni, and I said I wanted to do the music degree, the popular music degree, but you had to be able to read classical music and play a classical instrument, which I couldn't do. So that's how I couldn't get into the course. So what you find is, but to become a teacher, you have to have the degree. So to be a music teacher, a lot of the times the requirement is that you've got a music degree. So what you find is the music teachers in the schools, they've come through the classically trained route. So it's very rare you've got music teachers in the school that have come through the sound system route or the rapping route or the digital music production route. So for that reason, even if they do try to introduce it into the curriculum, they haven't got the specialist skills to really deliver it. So that's where so it's still a big issue. Like a lot of the young people who I work with, like I said, they a lot of them are excluded from mainstream school, or they're at risk of being excluded. And when you look on their record, they're not engaging, their grades are very low. But then they come here and you listen to the quality of music that they're writing, they're producing, they're recording. There's no reason why it's at a high level, but it's because these things are not accredited, or these things are not they're not incorporated in the curriculum. That's why their levels are low. So this is what we're working on. So we've got the program, and at the minute we're looking at getting some of the modules that we do, getting them accredited. And then it's just a case of then building up and working up. And again, it's even working with the learning institutions, working with the universities, and working with the colleges for them to then be able to create programs and design programs that are more fitting to the younger generation. Because I think as well, everything's gone digital. So the curriculum, it's from X amount of years ago. So it's having to catch up with the pace that it's moving. So yeah, that's where it is. So it's still not, there's been no major changes, but then you've got organizations like us now that can help facilitate that change. So that's what we're working on.
Thank you for your response, Daniel.
Fantastic. And I've never heard a better description of why we need to decolonialize the curriculum. I mean, absolutely amazing. And when you think about it, what was the number one track for, I think it was the millennium, wasn't it? It was Bob Marley.
Bob Marley, yeah.
You have to be able to play a music, a classical instrument, and understand perhaps past classical instrument qualifications. So absolutely amazing. So it's so wonderful. It's really great to meet you, Daniel. Kurt,
Yeah,
it's
you
great
too.
to meet you as well, because you're both of a generation that's now appreciating the history, and the history of Black music is just fantastic, and so many people are so interested. Elizabeth, it was great to hear your story. Thank you very much indeed. And my story is that one of my students at Bilston College was called Jocelyn Ross. He used to tell me about his stories about he would go around the country with his sound system. So did you know Jocelyn Ross? But he probably didn't use that name.
Yeah, I'd probably have to know his name, the sound name.
We'll manage that anyway. So yeah, all right. So yeah, so many things going on. Brilliant, Daniel. Thank you so much. Now, is there anybody else that wants to come in? Garrett,
so the next time Danny goes to Jamaica, he can make contact with maybe Kirk. Well, he's got contacts in Jamaica, but it's nice for him to go and put something in the memory bank.
It would be.
If I may come in here, has a series called Curating Culture, where we interview people like Daniel, who has been doing the work, and not only from a scholarly academic level, but at a community level as well. How he is actually translating all of that in impacting communities and impacting lives. So we will remain in touch, Daniel.
Yeah.
And we'll talk some.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely.
Right, well, that's fantastic. Garrett, you wanted to come in.
Yes, I was just thinking, because in Daniel biography spoke about how the music is assisting with dealing with issues around crime and engaging with young people. And as we know, in London, that is a massive challenge across London. And in particular, we know that the mayor office is one of the issues that they're trying to deal with at the moment. Probably would be better now with the new administration in getting more resources into that. But, you know, just thinking about young people, and you gave some illustration of, you know, the diversity of young people coming into that space. You know, sometime when I was a youth worker many years ago, you know, music was one of the workshops that I always used to engage people and teach them how to, you know, how to write poetry. And out of that came rap, and out of that came song. Then, you know, we were able to record it because we had a recording studio in the youth center to record it. So these are, you know, ways of using you know, a diverse range of approaches. And, you know, it cut across all races and culture and backgrounds. You know, because the young ladies and the young women will have a different approach as to, you know, what they would like to do and how they would like to use multimedia, for example. It would be quite different from what the boys would like to do. But it's also, you know, offering that choice for young people. And I'm thinking that, you know, are you able to sort of just mention any of your success story with a young person who has turned their life around as a result of you know, engaging with them, and now they've actually you know, established themselves as a shall we say, a respectable citizen of whether that's UK or otherwise. But any example like that?
Yeah, so there's been lots of, like I said initially, when when I set up, I didn't really, it was just organically when we set up the sound system. So this is the time that we was like, we set up when we was 11 and started 11, 12, 13, 14. So our peers at the time, there was at that age where we're in the streets and we're doing things. So we'd get shows and we'd be in like Birmingham, or we'd go to Wolverhampton or Bristol and these places. And then when we get back, our friends would hear that, he got locked up, or this happened, or big fight kicked off, and these kind of things. So like my brother, he was one of the main people, and that was what really kind of gave me the inspired me to even just push it to where we've got to now. He passed away through sickness, but he originally set up the sound system with me originally when I was like 11. He was 2 years older, so he would have been 13. And then he kind of fell off, and then we, like I said, there was a few of us what would do the sound, and we'd go places. And like I said, when I'd come back, sometimes I'd come back, get back 4 a.m, 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then the house phone would ring. I'd answer the phone, and it's the police station saying that they want to speak to my parents. They've got my brother in the police station. They're stealing cars or stealing motorbikes and so forth. And then, so when I spoke to him, I said, like, what are you doing? He said, you know what, it's not that I'm going out to get in trouble, but they're just doing, that's what they're doing. We're just out on the road, and you end up getting caught up in things. So I said, well, get back into the sound. Let's start. So he got back into the sound. And then from he got back into the sound, that was it. He stopped getting in trouble, and then we was touring the country. And when he got back in, it lifted the sound to another level as well, because he brought in the different music styles. He brought in garage and jungle. So that put us on a different market as well. And then he's from that, yeah, his life changed. But then shortly after that, he caught pneumonia and passed away. So that was initially in the early days. And then again, even like one of the young people who does music, who he's kind of like, he was like my right-hand man in the sound, and he was forever getting kicked out of school and getting suspended, and he left school with no GCSEs. But then we're going around the country and say there's a venue, 400 or 500 people, and they're singing his lyrics. So it didn't tally up. But by him being with the sound, it kept him on the straight and narrow. And now he's an established artist and he does his thing, whereas it could have went the other way. So that was the initial stage of when we was just coming up. But then as we've actually set up as an organization, there's a young man who he's actually one of our tutors at the moment. So he teaches the young people, because that's the whole thing. We've got like an ecosystem. What we're still working on it, but we've implemented the ecosystem where the young people come in, they train with us, but then they become the tutors to then train the next generation coming up, because then they're role models and they're case studies and they've been through it. So this young man, he came from Belfast, Northern Ireland. He had his background was a bit bad in the sense where his dad, with the violence, what happens over Northern Ireland and things. So he came to Northampton, and then he had like major, like they classed it, they said like anxiety and a lot of they call
PTSD.
it and SEND they call it. So he started with us doing virtual calls because he didn't come out his house or nothing. So we got him doing like on a Zoom. So we'd do Zoom with him, and he just kind of went from strength to strength until next thing he got on the next program with us when it was the physical program. And then, he's just reached the stage now where, like I said, he's a tutor. So he comes in every Tuesday and works with the youngers. And then when he's working with them, he's telling them his story and telling how he's overcome. So there's a lot of them. And there's still more to be made, because again, what we found is a lot of the time you get funding for projects. And the project lasts for 6 months. It's good, it keeps the youth them off the streets and so forth and so forth. But then funding finishes.
You need to be sustainable.
Yeah. And then the youth them end up back on the road, back doing what they're doing. So obviously us having the physical space now, every time even when a project finishes, the youth them still come. So we're still here. But then the next stage is, okay, so they're coming here, they're getting the skills, they're doing the music, but then what happens from there? And then again, like, if we're going to be honest about even the crime rate, what we're seeing, a lot of it is influenced by the music that the mainstream and the record labels and your BBC Radio 1s are pushing when it comes to urban music. If you look and listen to the artists that these major labels are signing, and that YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music are pushing, listen to the music, what they're pushing, and that's exactly what we're seeing going on in the streets. Same thing again, it's income, it's a lot of it's income based. So I could tell the youths them all day long, listen, don't go outside, don't go selling drugs, don't be doing this, don't be doing that. But then if I'm not going to provide them with an alternative, then I'm just talking, because at the end of the day, they need money. And if a lot of them have been excluded, or so they haven't got the qualifications. So in the traditional system, because they haven't got the qualifications, then the level of jobs what they can apply for, if they can even get a job, is going to be very low. So then a lot of them end up turning to the alternative, which is the selling drugs, which the music, what the record labels are pushing, is promoting. And then once they're selling drugs, then that's where the knife crime comes in, because now you've got illegal money. So people are going to come and take it off you, because you can't then go to the police and say, this guy robbed me. where did you get the money from in the first place? So then now it becomes a cycle, because now, so he has to carry a knife to protect himself from people coming and try to rob him. So it's a cycle. So when we see a lot of these initiatives happening and they're saying we're trying to do this and we're trying to do that, why don't they speak to the record labels? And when a lot of the young people, when they come in, I don't, like when they record, I don't ever tell them you can't say this. So the first thing I do is let them record. I just say, record something. When they record, you see where they're at. And the first thing what a lot of them record is, it's talking about selling drugs, it's talking about stabbing people, it's talking about guns, it's talking. And so then once they do that, then I say, right, now we break down the lyrics and start listening to the actual lyrics. And then when you do that with them, they start to realize how it sounds. And then, but then they show you an artist, what he's signed to a record label, he's got 1 million views, but he's saying the same thing. But then I'm saying, well, think about it. Do you think if he's actually living that life and he's putting this out, he'd be arrested, he'd be in prison right now because he's putting it on YouTube? So a lot of it it's not, and so you start to see that what's happening. So it's where we need to go is where we can provide. So if you do a positive song and let the positive song get the recognition or get the marketing and get the push that the negative songs get. And I can guarantee if they do that, we'll see a difference. I'm not saying it will eradicate the violence, but we'll see a difference, because the reason the youths them don't do positive songs is because it don't sell. So everyone wants to get signed. They want to get deals. They want to get X amount of views. And the songs what are getting the views are the songs what are talking negative. But what they don't realize is these are the same songs that the record labels are putting big marketing budgets behind to promote. That's why it's getting the views. So these are the things that needs to be challenged. So this is what we're working on. So it's a bigger picture. It's not. So we have to just, as they say in Jamaica, one cocoa full basket. So have to take our time and build, but that's the bigger picture. And obviously, it's not going to be one person or one organization that can do it. It's going to have to be a collective with that common goal. So that's where we're at.
So just a final point before June Elizabeth come in. So you are a young man, so clearly, I'm a second generation Windrush. So Windrush, we know the influence of the Windrush generation in music, in terms of UK music, etc. But one of our strong point is really trying to reach out to second, third, and fourth generation. So these are the descendants of the the King Jammy and those people, etc. And those are the people that don't quite understand. They're born here, they never been to any of their parents' country, etc. All they know is the life on the street in Britain. And of course, what you said about the music, that's street music. So there's a message for us in terms of trying to reach people. And again, you're educating people about music and other life skill. And for me and my colleague, we're sort of educating people about the Windrush history and the Windrush generation, and for people to have an understanding about those different descendants. And those are the conversations we have outside of this platform in different arenas. Elizabeth, you're coming in with your hand there, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I just putting down my hand. Okay. What I was going to say is that I just want to mention, following what you said, I just want to mention 3 quick things, and then Danny can round it off. Right. So now, Liz knows Sir Cliff, right? So Sir Cliff showed Daniel the Alpha School of Music. That's where when we sent the instruments to Jamaica, that went to Clarendon, he had some for Alpha, because the Alpha school, when they get to a level, they've got to teach a younger one. So Danny sit here in this room where I am, and so Cliff showing that history, yeah, coming from Jamaica. And then I just wanted to mention, and then end with a little funny story. So Daniel, can you remember the first time Jack Troopers played out? They didn't even have a name. Can you remember?
Yeah. That was where we got the name. That's how we got the name, because June and them came, and there was the organization Kemet, and that June and Sir Cliff set up, which was a music school. And then they approached us and said, right, because we was doing our little DJing, but we never had a name. And they said they want to book us for a show, but you need a name. We're gonna put your name on the flyer. What's your name? But we never had a name. So that was when we said, Ja Troopers. We started with Troopers. So
And what does Ja Trooper mean?
The Ja Troopers means soldiers of Ja, soldiers of the Father. We're here to do the work.
Soldiers of the Lord. Yes, lovely. So this is a funny little joke, right? One day, I rang up Daniel and I said, anything happening, Daniel? And he said, oh, Daddy Uroy's over. So now, I didn't know they called Uroy Daddy Uroy. Yeah, so I know Uroy very well, because in the 60s, early 70s, he'd come and play at my dad's club in Northampton. Yeah, and when I go to Jamaica, he lived at 22 Clinking Avenue, where all the names of the birds, that area, right? And he always used to give me dub plates to bring back the sound system, right? So when he said he was playing, it was in Birmingham. And I thought, gosh, I'm going to be in London. So for me to go to Birmingham and get to London, fast forward, he said that this is why what you just mentioned about Garrick, I just wanted to let you know that Uroy asked Ja Troopers when he come to England, when he's, toasting, doing his act, he asked Ja Troopers, Danny them, to play the background instrumental music for them, right? And then Danny said to me, he's going to be in London, where I'm going to be, at the Rex Theatre on the Sunday night. So I've got to open up my counselling service. I got the keys Monday morning. So I said to Daniel, well, when you get the minibus, get me a seat, etc., etc., and mark it. I won't be coming down, but I'm coming back, right? Anyway, when we got there, right, Uroy was talking with Daniel and Danny's troopers, and suddenly this man, he never had no manners, and just come in the middle, and he said, Uroy, business, and he just pulled Uroy and take him away, right? When we were having the conversation, after he'd done his show. So I looked at Daniel then, because when I was growing up, I knew most of the Studio One artists, but I haven't got no pictures with them. I don't even think I had a camera in them days, right? So like Bob Marley and that, it'd be nice to have some pictures of them. So I looked at them, I said, do you want a picture with Uroy? And they said, yeah. I said, well, ask him, but they kind of, like Daniel, he's so humble and shy, right? He was, right? Shy. He's not shy now, right? So what I done, I went to the other end of the club, and you got all these Jamaican men around Uroy. So the man that did pull him name was Josie Wales, right? He's a Jamaican artist. So what I done, they must probably think we're buying in English with an hour for flex. So I went in the middle of them. I said, Uroy, business. And we just hold him out and I'm pulling to Daniel. And then that's how come Daniel and his Ja Troopers. I've got pictures with Uroy. You got pictures with him, haven't you, Daniel?
Yeah.
So he got pictures of that generation, right? And that's how we had to get it. Yeah. Excellent. So I just thought I'd end with that funny little story. So Danny's kind of gone through Sir Cliff, the original Windrush generation, and the Jamaican artists that come over. Yeah. So that's why I said he's a special. What generation is Daniel? Is he the second generation? Third generation?
Third generation, yeah.
So he's a special third generation, because when he comes to our house, he can talk with Cliff, and the thing about Daniel, he listens, and then he knows how to incorporate the history, because anytime we come here, it's history. And when me and Daniel go and do a presentation, or when we used to go and do a presentation, I've got everything set up in the house, and Sir Cliff films us, right, while we're practicing. Then we look at it. This before we go to the university to deliver anything. And I said, no, I can't wear that suit, because I'll keep pulling we fix it proper. So the last thing now, and this is the last thing, I showed Daniel the pathway of when he's going to have a big dance. Yeah. And, if you're going to have the bar, you've got to contact the police a certain time, because they sit to do the licensing. And I showed him everything. And Danny came to my house, and he showed me that he's done everything, and he's even went and given the application at the police station himself. So I said to the week before, I'd asked him who's doing the security, and he told me 2 men. And I said, well, they're not got their license. So you go and get a couple of people that have got a security firm, because it was a big group that we were going to bring over. Can you remember who they were, Dan?
Yeah, with the Mighty Diamonds.
Yeah, that's who we were bringing over from Jamaica, right? So the police don't want to know that in the middle of town, a big group like that from Jamaica, so you've got everybody coming from all over England, and they're going to be called out. So the first thing I show them, the police want to know who's the security. You've got to have proper security. So when Danny came, right, I rang the police station. I said, now this is how I finish it off. I rang the police station, and they said, who's talking? We were upstairs in the liquor room. You've been in the liquor room, haven't you, Liz? It was all the library. But the phone connection's a bit crackly. So they said, who's calling? So they said, what's your name? I said, have you got time? Because I've got 5 Harley per name. That's what they said at I Commission. The woman was Harley per name. So they thought I was joking. I said, the Black Pioneer. So they said, can we ring you back? I told Danny they were going to do that. So we went downstairs, and they rang back. And I said, oh, it's June Elizabeth. I said, you got a pen? Whitesmith Gully, the Black Pioneer, the first black police officer in Northamptonshire. That's why I said I'm the Black Pioneer. I said, I'm just been mentoring Daniel Johnson, so I'm just ringing up. He brought in an application. See, when you bring it in, they can just fling it down. So I'm ringing now to just check something on the application. I have to pull it out. And here the man to Dan said, oh, could I speak to Daniel Johnson? In fact, I was just going to ring him. Do you remember that, Dan?
Yeah.
And can you remember where he asked you?
Well, who is the security? Who do you have for the security? Yeah.
And so Danny had the security. He said, oh, that's fine. Yeah? So I'm just showing you, Danny's been taught from the roots right round. He's an all-round. He can do everything, So I just think that we really have to take our hat off to him, because there's not many young people that I can call and ask them to go and represent me. Yeah. And when I go somewhere, I can tell the organisation, because I'm a well-known character in Northampton, not just in Northampton, but I can tell them that whatever you want me to do, my prodigy can do it better. And that is a fact. All right? To be young, gifted, and black. I'm serious.
I wouldn't say better. I'd just say different. But not better.
Different. Well, no, that's commendable, June Elizabeth. And there is somebody on the call. Just before we wind up, Daniel, there's a colleague of mine on the call, and he also, has a grounding in the sound system. And in particular, you might not know this. Have you heard of Raytown?
Yeah, Raytown.
Right.
Yeah.
Roland, can you just say hello to Daniel? And Daniel been telling us about his work and the project that he's been involved in and the different music connection. Just tell him something about, you know, Raytown that he might go away and consider after this call. Are you there, Roland?
No, it takes him half a minute to come
Yeah,
start
because sometimes
talking.
he moves away from the microphone, you see.
Just while we're waiting for Roland to come back on, thank you so much for those stories, June Elizabeth, and for your parts, Garrick, as well. And Daniel, it's just absolutely fascinating to hear your story. And I'd just like to introduce myself as the international manager of Yasus Afari. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I know Yasus Afari. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping we'll be able to get Yasus over in the autumn, maybe for Black History Month again.
Okay.
Come over to Wales, and we've done all sorts, and all these names that you're talking about are all names that Yasus has told me.
Yeah,
and if I could remember the names, but I used to have to write notes and emails and things, and oh yes, it was Beres Hammond.
Yes.
Writing up about Beres Hammond, and in the email I spelt him Berry Salmon because but I'm not concerned, so we all have our funny stories, don't we? Roland, are you there, Roland?
Yasus Afari, he was close with Garnet Silk. He used to do a lot of work with Garnet Silk. Yeah.
And he does the Jamaica Poetry Festival now. That'll be coming up at the after the independence celebrations, and then he does his Poetry in Motion every February.
That's right.
He really does want to come over, and he'd be just fascinated to work with you, I'm sure, in some way. So we'll make some good links there. Yasus helped us get this Black History conversation started. Back he did, I think, the first 6 sessions. We always used to include music and a bit of poetry, a bit of culture, as well as talks, but then it just became talks and less music. So your film. Just going to Roland again. Roland, are you there? Roland? No, can't get hold of it.
Okay, well, that's all right, Liz.
I'll just ring him on the other line. I'll ring him on Sir Cliff's line.
Yeah, that's all right. Liz, I was just thinking, because you just mentioned something about Yasser and poetry, but I think it's also good to even mention the Jamaican language that we've been talking about, trying to get that back, you know, as a course, because I've had inquiries that people have said, you know, when is this course going to start again? And there is a demand for a course like this. And Liz and I have been having conversation about this. It would be nice for Daniel to know a little bit about the background to this.
Oh, okay, Daniel. Well, as I say, no, I didn't explain. I used to work in colleges, and I used to work in Wolverhampton at the college there, and I had many Jamaican students in my class, particularly older Jamaicans who wanted a chance to improve their reading skills, their writing skills. And half the problem was that they didn't appreciate that you're bilingual if you're Jamaican, if you can speak Jamaican patois and you can speak English, that well, we did the work which actually proved that they're separate languages. So Professor Heward Devonish came over to the UK and worked with us because he wanted the Institute of Linguists to recognise Jamaican as a language, so that you could have court interpreters, etc. But there are many different difficulties because in Jamaica, Jamaican isn't necessarily acknowledged as a different language. So the Jamaica Language Unit, we've had Dr. Joseph Harquison, who heads that up now. He's been on the Black History Conversations, and we stay in touch with him. And Natalie Fagan Brown, who's one of the other directors of Learning Links International, she was the person who really did the groundwork behind the course. I was the person who facilitated it to be in the college, and we accredited Jamaican as a language, and then based on that model we anticipated that any other Caribbean language could be also recognized. But we need to go back to do that all over again, because after our first successful run, when we got people through the course, then I moved on from that college, and the college wouldn't maintain the accreditation, so it was a shame. So yeah, so that's a bit of the story of the Jamaican language. So thank you very much, Garrick, for letting me explain that. Yeah, let's just see if Roland's appeared yet. What do you think, June? Have you got him?
I did ring him on Sir Kiff's phone. He didn't answer, so I sent him a message. So whether he picks up in a second or not. But I can remember when he was doing a Windrush event with Zach Raytown, he was going around the country trying to raise awareness of Windrush. So he used the music as well. So he contacted me, and he wanted me to, I think it was to go somewhere up north. I wasn't able, but Herman and myself, Herman's in London, he'd done it hybrid. And Juanita Cox went up to where it was in Sheffield, it's further up north. And there was quite a few people that went. So I hosted the Zoom with Herman. Herman was in London. But that day, I had a special party booked, private party with my sister. And so she was quite annoyed that I was come to her house and I was hosting Zoom, you know what I mean? But I told him I'll only do it till so long, because, you know, my sister had booked this party for months ahead. So I'll leave it like that because he's not here. But what he done, he asked me something, and I asked him, as he got certain things, like what you said, it's not just sound system. And when you do a dance and you're going to have so many people and you're going to do this, you're going to do that, it turns a different direction. So I said to him, have you got a first aiders? Have you got certain policies there? So deal with the town hall, with the people that you're hiring the hall, they might have some policies already in place. So I said, do you want me to send you a guide? And he said, yes, please. And I sent him a guide so he could have a check-off list. Because sometimes people think you just book a hall and you go up with your sound system. And it's more than that, you know, especially when you're going to have elderly people there. You got to make sure that you got all the different, you cover yourself. So it was okay, you know, because sometimes when you do something for the first time, that's how you build on what you're doing. But I thought that was a good thing, because a lot of people came for the dance. So that's how we do things when I have a book launch. You remember, what's that lady, Marika Sherwood? She come on here, didn't she?
Yes.
And she did, I had 2 book launches with Marika, the second one,
Whoops, seem to have jammed out.
Yeah, I think she's frozen. Her image is frozen.
She'll come back in again.
Yeah, come back in.
Yeah. I had a Jamaican artist that sang at the end, and that brought a lot of people, and they got interested in what Marika was saying. So, you know, it's very good what Roland was doing. Is he still doing it?
Yeah, it's still doing it. And we can deal with that another time. So I think what we want to do now is to thank Daniel for his presentation. And certainly, you know, it's been informative and uplifting. Of course, Daniel, you know that these sessions can be revisited online. They will be uploaded so you can have access to a rerun, as it were. It's like listen again, you know? So yes, each of the session, you just go in and you will find the appropriate dates, and you can you know, use it as many times as you want, and forward it and share it to your friends and colleagues. So that opportunity is there. So thank you very much, Daniel, and thank June Elizabeth for introducing Daniel to Black History Conversation. And I'm sure we're going to have further conversation in the future. And we'll say, you know, the work you're doing is so important. Continue to do what you're doing, because you're helping and assisting a number of young people to change their life and better themselves. And that's a good thing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm just going to wrap up with looking forward. We're rolling along at such a pace with these Black History Conversations. I think in our next season, after the summer, I think we're going to be up to 150 of these sessions. We've talked to all sorts of people, but Daniel, this has been a particularly fascinating session. And yes, thank you, June Elizabeth, for introducing Daniel. We've heard so much about you, Daniel, and you lived up to it every little bit and lots of. So thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
So just to say that next week at 3, we'll start again at 2:30 to try and sort the technology out, but I will try harder during the week to get it sorted from my end. So at 3 o'clock, we've got Dr. Marcella Day, and she's going to be talking to us about the Black experience of tourism in the UK. So I hope I've got the title about right. Now, we don't normally any longer have more than one speaker. At one time, we used to have 3, sometimes even 4 speakers. But next week, we're going to do something special at 4 o'clock. So we want to encourage folks to join us for this special bit after Dr. Marcella's had the first hour of the session. At 4 o'clock, we're going to kind of change gear and go into a different session, because I don't know if you remember, Lamesha Ruddock came on the one we were talking about Jamaican language a few weeks ago, but she wants us to do a consultation meeting on something about the tribute monument that they're consulting on in London. So it's a Mayor of London's consultation meeting. So we'll be doing that at 4 o'clock next week. So it's going to be a very long session next week. Then the following week, I'm not quite sure who and what we're going to do then, and that'll be the last of our sessions in season 12. And then I think over the summer months, this is a bit of a consultation with my colleagues as well, Daniel. I think we ought to be concentrating on the Penance Project course, because we need to really get that sorted out. We've been granted some funds from the Welsh Government for exchange visits, so that would be good, but it's Welsh. Okay, this is Welsh funding with exchange people from Wales to Jamaica and Jamaica to Wales. So that's going to be quite interesting, but we definitely want to include music in it. So that'll be really, really good. Then we're looking ahead to Black History Month, of course. But we've got you back on again, Kurt. Do you want to say anything before you finish? We finish? Kurt?
Hi. Yeah. So just
Kurt, the sound
audio is going, it's fading.
and it feels good to be back. Oh,
yes,
can you hear me now? Okay, yeah. The internet connectivity issues we've been having.
Yeah, I
just wanted to say.
Okay, Kurt, the line is really difficult at the moment, so we look forward to lot more closely, Kurt. All right, when we can get a good line. And I'm so glad that you're safe over there, and hope that it doesn't take too long to sort things out after the storms. Difficult time. So thank you, Kurt. Thank you very much, my colleagues. Garrick Prayog, thank you. Roland, if you can hear me, thank you. June Elizabeth, thank you very much. But most of all, Daniel, thank you. That was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, then. And Garrick's going to end the recording for us all on your computer, aren't you? But thanks ever so much, folks. Brilliant.
Thanks, everyone.
We're looking forward to you one day, Daniel.
Yeah, you too. You too. Take care. All right.
Okay, one love.
All right. Bless.
I'll ring you in a minute, Dan. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right then.
One
All
love.
right. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. How are you doing, Garrick? Is it switched off yet?
I'm going to just do that now. Let me just check.
Then, right then. Bye, folks.
Yeah. Okay. Should be recording. Can't see a stop. Okay.
Can you get into the bit where you look at leave?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So recording. Okay. And
Well, I'm just wondering if I press leave.
yeah, do that. Do that because I think that might do it.
But I'll probably
It will automatically save anyway because it will just stop. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see the button to sing, so it's all right. We'll just come out. We'll just stop. Yeah.
I've got into the meeting chat and I can't get out of that. I'm leaving the meeting then. Bye.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.